Oh my lord. I was not ready for this week's Buddy Daddies episode. I threw it out there last week. I literally said I have no idea. I laid all the cards out on the table and said, viewers, tell me, who is this girl that gets teased at the end of last week's episode? I was like, is that supposed to be his girl? I was under the impression she died, but I mean the facial structure, I put the images we had of her side by side to this woman, and they looked rather similar. I had people saying, yep, the wife is still around, this is gonna create some intense drama. Other people, no, that's a brand new character, I wonder where they're going. Well, we get the full information. Turns out, my previous thought before last week, it really made me second guess everything. She did die. That explosion flashback 100% was his pregnant, soon-to-be wife. We get the full picture of why he's trying to send money to someone, why he separated himself from seemingly a family dynamic he really enjoyed, and why he almost feels like he has this sense of guilt hanging over his head. So the full picture of Kazuki's tragic backstory is that he has a profession that is dangerous, that people could very well target him, and unfortunately, if people get away that he's trying to hurt, could end up getting those he loves killed, which paints a picture of why he's so fearful of taking care of someone like Miri, not only if he ends up dying on the job, what happens if his work comes back to hurt her? He very much has that anxiety. But why is he trying to send money to someone if it's not his pregnant wife? Turns out, the wife ended up getting killed. Unfortunately, it was a bad situation, bad location, wrong time, and ultimately the person he was trying to hurt ended up basically crashing, explosion, she ended up dying. So why send money to someone? Well, he was sending it to the family, and most importantly, his sister-in-law. But there's actually no hostile attitudes. In fact, she doesn't want the money because she blames him. She doesn't want the money because she doesn't blame him. The fact that she just wanted to have a connection with the man who made her sister so happy. But because he felt so guilty about it, he just, for 5 long years, has refused to move on. And over the course of this episode, he finally sees the light at the end of the tunnel. As she's moving on to Paris so she can learn fashion, he now is realizing that it's okay to have that family life, and maybe it's time to stop blaming himself for something that was truly out of his control. Buddy Daddies is absolutely peak anime right now. Now, before we jump any further, I gotta mention we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon, so if you want to see my full uncut thoughts, my entire train of thought of watching this episode before everything hit the fan, head on over there and consider supporting, because this was easily the best episode of Buddy Daddies to me, and arguably the most interesting to talk about while watching, and obviously even after with that post-anime discussion. But this episode from start to finish was brilliant. It has humor, it has cute, adorable. It honestly felt like Kazuki, before all the drama started in this episode, felt like the mother who has to leave for her parents or sisters for a weekend because she just can't deal with the husband. And that's kind of what Kazuki is. He looks at Rei as just like he makes a mess. He complains just like a little girl about the foods, and if it's not sugary and bad for you, then it's considered trash, and all he does is play Mario Kart. Ultimately, you understood the frustration, and I was like, oh man, is he gonna run away? And right there, my mind was like, oh, what if he's one of those people who ran away from his girl, and she's still alive and well, and that's why she's turning down the money because she can't forgive him. But no, in fact, it was just stress. Is this happiness? He's feeling not only the guilt of his past, but also like, I literally have a screaming kid, and I have an annoying adult who might as well just be a kid. What am I supposed to do in these situations? And what does he do? Well, after learning that the sister-in-law still won't take the money, he blows it on booze, babes, and gambling. And honestly, I can't say I blame him in that moment. Did it solve his issues? No, but honestly, the boy needed a little de-stressor, and even if it was momentarily, I felt like he kind of earned it myself. Though I think the way they handled the revelation of the sister was really good. And I'm glad that even initially, you might be able to argue, well, it's because he was mostly drunk. But the fact that when she initially because he gets tossed in the garbage because he tries to jump a fool who kind of pushed him and he didn't like how he looked at him, and then 2 of his buddies came in and basically knocked the sense out of him. Ultimately, when he first sees her, it looks like his wife, and then it kind of clues in and he realizes, no, it's the sister-in-law. I like the fact that this show has been all about mistaken identities. Literally, Miri's father, if you put him next to Kazuki, look identical. You look at the sister and the 2 sisters here, yes, the hair's shorter, the hair color's a bit different, But you can't tell me the anime wasn't trying to make you confused. You literally don't see her face until the end of this episode. The entire time we've had teases of her, up until like obviously like the explosion and stuff, anytime it's been pictures and things like that, she's always been like, it's been partially cut off. Yes, in the full flashback when she gets exploded, we do see her face, but in the moments of him like holding her when she was pregnant and he's like listening to the heartbeat or whatever was going on in the stomach, right? Ultimately, we never get a full detailed picture, so it was hard to say. The woman who got exploded, was that his girl? Because it looks like the person we're seeing in terms of a wider shot. But then you look at the sister and you're like, man, that could have just been a hair dye change, it could have been a haircut, and honestly, it was trying to make you confused. You can't convince me otherwise, as it's a pretty common thing with buddy daddies. Does it work for good cliffhangers? Absolutely. And what I come to really appreciate about this episode is something like this I felt like we wouldn't see for at least a couple more episodes, but the fact that they lay all the cards on its table and say, hey, this is getting resolved. It's time for this man. It's been 5 years for him, and it's been over half of this anime's runtime. Let's let him feel happy and feel like, you know what? I deserve a second chance at happiness. It's been 5 years. I lost my first family. Why can't I have a second one? And the fact that even when he comes home and initially is just like disappointed but understood, who's gonna clean, who's gonna cook, I get it. The fact that Ray, the only reason he didn't do that stuff, even though if she wasn't sick, it's probably up in the air, would he have cleaned? The fact of the matter is, even if he's not good for cooking and cleaning, the thing he is good for is if an emergency arises with our girl, he's gonna be right there. Hell, when he initially removed the cold medicine from the drawer, he actually went out of his way to look at the age restrictions for the pills. Might not seem like a big thing, but for someone who seems so emotionally immature, the fact that he went out of his way to double check and then was like, okay, even if I don't know how to get to the hospital, I know someone who probably will, and he went out of his way to make sure she was safe, after ultimately getting sick because he decided to go out in the rain on a Sunday when she didn't have daycare. Like I say, the more I watch a Buddy Daddies, the more I really consider it to be absolute perfection. Not only do you get this very interesting take on a father-daughter story from two different father perspectives, but ultimately you have this very mature storyline that on paper it's such a bubbly and pretty to look at show. Cute costumes and outfits for Miri, but then you look at where the characters come from Ray's abusive father past to what he had to do as a kid, to Kazuki and what he lost pretty recently, only 5 years back, to now having something that's bringing them so much life and comfort. And yes, sometimes they don't know how to react to things, but ultimately, as we saw with the French toast at the end, they do try their hardest at the end, and this family has truly become one of a kind for this anime medium. But I'll let everyone else let me know your thoughts down below, because there is a lot to break down. It's good to finally have the full picture of what happened. No longer is this so-and-so, oh no, it doesn't look like it could be. It's now all on the table, and it was a brilliant reveal if you ask me. But thoughts yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and of course, as I mentioned, we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon. And while you're there, you can also get yourself a video shoutout like Sansoshi, Anthony C, and F Google are getting today. I had to censor that last one, but you know what I meant. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.